Hey champ, Drekken here. If you're still out there trying to get a hang of Age of Empire 4, you're in luck. I'm here with PandaBearMe, StarCraft 2 Pro turned Age of Empire player, who is currently sitting in the top 20 of the global leaderboard. And he's here to break down his ladder replays with me, and point out some tips and tricks that you at home can try. Let's take a look. All right, and so I'm here with PandaBearMe, and we are about to jump into a game of Age of the Empires 4. PandaBearMe, give me a little bit of background what we're about to see here.
We got ourselves a ladder game. We got French versus the Delhi, a classic match, and I just want to put you through kind of my thoughts, and hopefully we can teach some people coming from StarCraft 2 kind of what you should be doing in an Age of Empires 4 game. You know, give them some tips and stuff like that.
And so you're playing the French, and the French are, in terms of difficulty level, what are we looking at in terms of how easy or hard is the French for a brand new person playing Age of the Empires 4?
The French right now is probably one of the best civs to give a shot. I'd say French would be number one, English right behind. Actually, I think they even have a little star system rating how easy to hard they are, and I think they're 1 star both respectively. So French, definitely a good civ to look at if you're starting the game. And I think this will be a good pointer for all the new people coming into the game, trying to figure out what to do.
What civ did you start off when you first started playing?
I was playing in the closed beta, and we didn't actually have French. We had English. I think it was the Delhi, Chinese, and Mongols. And I think everyone started with English just right away. And that was a great civ to kind of show you kind of how you should be managing your stuff. But personally, I actually really like the Mongols just because they're nomadic and can move around. A lot of different kind of ways you can open. It was pretty exciting. And I still play them now to this day, but you got to kind of have a lot of civs if you're playing tournaments and stuff. So French is bread and butter for me these days.
All right, well, let's jump into it. Let's do it.
All right, so right away, you're looking at a pretty familiar start. If you've ever played Age of Empires 2, we got our sheep, except we got our sheep right away under the town center. So you just collect that one. Now we're getting the other two kind of scattered around your base, and you just send them right over. And you really want to get a circle kind of rotation around your town center right away. You can find little stragglers because sheep will just be all over the map. And they're kind of randomly spawned throughout the map, as you'll find pretty much everything is random to a point in this game. There'll be, you know, your stone somewhere always a certain distance around your town center, but you're not exactly sure which direction that's going to be. And it's a similar thing for sheep, where there's always going to be a couple guys in a nice circle all around your base. But they'll still be even to the corners of the base too. But
do you start with like
first and foremost?
Did that sheep just like disengage, or do you send it, like you just let it to go back to the town now? Is that what you're?
Yeah, we're sending them over. They automatically follow your scout if you're near them, and they love the scout. They're best friends, you know, bread and butter right there. But you can click on them and just send them over, and they're very slow, as you can see, but they get there just the same. It's only scary when you're maybe like this far away and you send them over, and
can someone steal your sheep? Lost. Can someone steal your sheep from you, your opponent?
Absolutely, yeah. If you send them, yeah, especially in this kind of distance, if I sent them over and they had to crush all the way over here, and a scout intercepted him, he's dead meat. He's going to get him right away. But as long as your scout's following or getting followed by these sheep and they're in close proximity, you can't actually get them stolen, which is nice. So they're pretty safe and secure. The only thing you're afraid about is if maybe he attacks the sheep. That's something some people do, and you got to be real careful.
That like
but
denying you the sheep? Is that the plan? Is that why they do it, to deny you the sheep by killing it?
Yeah, you know, like if it died right here, it would just be a super bummer, because then the carcass is over there and it's so far away from the base here. And that's kind of like, there's a term in AoE2 called laming, when you kill someone's, you take someone's boar and then take it across the map, and you basically deny that food for them. And it's kind of a similar idea, where you're killing it so far away that you're laming the food away.
Oh, okay. This guy
and now you can see this guy's scout right over here, and he had a bunch of sheep, but I can't take him. They're all following nice and tight. But you can see over here we're focusing on food. And we want 8 on food right away with French, and then after that we're rallying to gold. So those are the 2 main resources you really want in the beginning of the game, because that allows you to get your landmark. Now this is what we're building here. You have 5 guys building on the landmark. You can make as many people as you want to build the first landmark, but the efficiency is reduced every single time you add another vill. So
wait, so the
you wouldn't
more
want all these
villagers,
guys.
the more villagers you
Yeah.
add, the more it's reduced. Shouldn't that be the opposite?
Well, it's just like if these were all 100% efficiency for all these guys, you could just create a huge, like
Right.
this insanely fast landmark. So it's just kind of trying to create that balance between how fast do you want it versus, these guys could be getting resources like wood or more gold,
Right.
and you got to have that balance, what you want to do, and you have to make that decision. But with this landmark's so strong, this right away functions as a stable. So we have 5 guys on here. This is probably the most you'll ever see for a landmark, at least these days.
Is 5? Is that the optimum efficiency is 5?
Yeah, it's just kind of what people have found is just the best timing, because right here we're at 350 and we're about to pop the landmark on the dot, and we got a stable right away. Because normally with a stable you have to get feudal and then you build a stable. You get that unlocked. You can see kind of down here.
Oh,
it's like the second tier.
Is that a French
stables under there?
Is this a French specific thing where you can get this stable from this landmark?
Absolutely, yeah. There's only 2 civs that can get like a landmark that can make units right away, and that's the French and the English. Funnily enough, the 2 1-star civs. This is kind of part of why they're more of an intro civ, because right away when you're in feudal, you're just activated. You have really good units, and you can just push them right away. Whereas if I was any other civ, right now is when I'd be starting my stable. So you can see how that timing can be very, very strong if you can get these knights out right away, which is what we're doing. We're getting the royal knights, which are also pretty unique to French. Let me try to explain knights real quick. There's usually knights are restricted to castle age, but French and also the Rus have early knights. So these are a little bit weaker knights, but they're in the feudal age. So this is kind of their bonus. That for being the civ, you get these unique units that only you can get in this age. So you get royal knights right away, and they're just insanely good. And that's why everyone's trying to get them right away.
Okay. What makes them really good? What's kind of their
Yeah, so early knights are just very they're armored for 1. So
Got it.
Normally in feudal, you got horsemen. They're light horsemen, and they go around and they do decent damage. But because they're light, they end up taking a lot of damage to pikemen, which is their natural counter, and archers, which in low numbers, horsemen do really good, but in high numbers, in high numbers, archers can really start sticking it through the horsemen. So you can see already this knight's getting out, and he actually charged on the scout. That was a charge mechanic. You can only get maybe every 20 seconds. I'm not actually sure. You can see this lance kind of signifies this. So he's getting ready to charge.
Right.
But I don't waste it on the scout. I'm gonna look for villagers, because this is a very aggressive opening. I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to show you how fast this is. I mean, we're coming out here and he's just barely getting out a couple pikemen, and we're at his base. So this is kind of
I've understood that.
harass.
I was gonna say, can you do a lot of harassing in Age of the Empire? I always felt like you could have as many of the villagers to run back into the town hall to just be safe. Is there oh, it looks like you're catching
there's
something
kind of
though.
a risk reward. You can kind of see, I poked in here, and then the town center was kind of poking at him, and then they got the pikes out, and then we kind of pulled back. I think it really depends, because knights are so good. They're early knights. They're only a couple civs can get them, so it's kind of a unique situation where you're really trying to take advantage of this unit. And see, we're charging in here, and we both got the charge on that same villager, so we just killed him right away. And here we snagged another one because he was weaker. That was just because he was out of position. He's trying to take this sacred site, and he's trying to get map control in different ways, so I opened himself up. Now, not every civ can do this, so it's definitely a unique situation, but there definitely is some harass to AoE4. You gotta be safe.
What would you use instead of the knight if you were a civ that did not have early knights?
Well, it depends on the situation. For example, this guy, he's a Delhi Sultanate, and he knows I'm French, and it's very, very good. So he's getting pikemen right away, just trying to stagger off these knights, which is just, it's like the best unit you could possibly make, because they're kind of like the anti-cavalry unit. For example, like English, they have longbowmen. They're very, very strong. So they just lend themselves to this kind of archer style right away. But it kind of just depends on who you're playing. It's a very reactive game. But if I was to say, like, without knowing like anything about who you're facing, I'd say just go with the stable, just kind of play mid, and you can make a couple horsemen and react to what they're doing with the horsemen, and you can make a backup barracks if you need, or you can go a range. This guy in this case is actually doing the opposite. He's going barracks into stable because he wants to add horsemen to his pikes. Horsemen are just kind of a nice basic unit you can add to every comp in feudal. Because it's so fast.
What should someone remember early in the game before they go for their first age? What would be a great, what would be the first kind of tip someone should always remember?
You should always check out what they're doing with your scout. So you can see kind of, I did a big 360 around his base, seeing what he's mining, because you always get gold, you always get stone, and you always get berries around you. So finding out if they're getting gold right away is really important. For example, I'm mining gold still because I'm getting knights. So if you see someone build a landmark, which costs 200 gold, and they're still getting gold after that, that's a big sign that they're going for knights.
Oh, okay.
Because archers and horsemen and pikes, they don't cost any gold at all. That's what in AoE2 they call it trash units. But a lot of units in AoE4 are technically trash units just because they don't cost gold. So it's this kind of big factor between, are they getting gold? Are they not? You can kind of figure out what they're going for. Also with stone, another unique thing about AoE4 is you can actually expand in the feudal age right away. All it costs is 400 wood and 300 stone. So something people will do is they'll, right after they get enough money for their landmark, is they'll start getting their stone, and they'll line it up. So as soon as feudal finishes, they can get that base, and it's just super powered up, getting that economy, put it on some berries, get some good stuff. And that's kind of the bread and butter of economy, right? So you just got to check out, are they getting stone? Are they going for gold? Or are they just getting wood? It can tell you a lot about what they're intending to do to you.
What's something that people should remember when it comes to managing their resources?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky at first managing resources. I'd say just really focus on what you're building. So like, for example, I'm getting a lot of knights, which only cost food and gold. So as a result, we only have 5 guys. We have 5 guys on gold. We have 5 on wood, and we have a ton on food. I mean, we got 25 in total. We even have Hunt over here getting some deers. We're just focusing on that food because it's so absolutely important. But this guy, on the flip side, we can kind of see his setup. He's got a bunch of food, and he's going only wood. He's actually not mining any gold at all. And that's because he doesn't actually need it unless he wants to tech up to the castle age. So he's just totally running with his composition.
Do you ever see times where people will rush ages, like past the first age, but to even do other ages, just to beeline it to as like a high tech strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's kind of how do you say, like, there's like 2 types of civs that I really identify whenever I'm playing the game, and that's civs who really want to get a second and third base really quickly, and civs that really want to get castle age really quickly. So a lot of them will actually benefit from staying on one base and just going straight to castle age and taking advantage of these deer and stuff because they give you tons of food, and just focusing on getting to that castle age to get those perks, whatever it might be. Like Mongols, for example, can get there really quickly, and they just have these great, like, they have these lancers, which are basically like early knights but better, and they just absolutely shred through units. So you can just put all of your eggs in one basket in a sense and just focus on that. Whereas, as French, castle age is really good, but you have a lot of opportunities to do harass. So maybe you just go for an expansion, and it kind of just depends what your plan is,
How, something that's come up is Age of Empire may be less APM heavy than, say, StarCraft 2. And does that also translate to different civs? Are more civs more APM heavy or more mechanically inclined than other civs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, French is again a great example of a cavalry civ, and I think there's a couple other like Rus are a cavalry civ, Mongols. So when you start getting these horsemen and you start running around, you can already kind of see I'm running around doing these counterattacks, trying to poke and see what I can find. And it's a lot of multitasking. We got these two hotkeys kind of darting in and out, trying to get whatever we can. Whereas, you know, if you're like English, for example, and you're an archer civ and you're just focused on, let's just get these archers out, maybe get some pikemen if they're also going cavalry. You know, we're playing a very defensive style and we don't need to worry nearly as much because you can just set up your pikemen in the important places next to your food and we're good to go, you know?
Now, I'm all about being aggressive when it comes to playing my RTSs. And so do you find people ever doing things like cannon, like I guess not cannon rush, but like tower rushes? Are we seeing really heavy, almost cheeses in Age of the Empires 4? Is that something that's starting to develop, or are we not seeing that?
Yeah, there are a little bit of cheeses. It's a little bit different than StarCraft 2. Coming from StarCraft 2, you know, we think 6-pool, we think like these proxy 2 gates and stuff like that. Just absolutely strong pushes that you just need to know what to do versus these things. But even though there's early attacks, I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. You know, there's like tower rushes where you can kind of get onto their gold early and try to deny them their first landmark, you know, delay that tech and start putting on some pressure. But it's a little bit more specific. I'd say the most like cheesy civilization would be the Mongols, because something they can do is they can pump out units like a reactor. They can ×2 a unit. Yeah. And then they can get out quicker than maybe most people would be able to. So it ends up being kind of tricky to defend. But not so much besides that.
I saw you were in his base a lot. And was that you were trying to were you trying to get work done in terms of killing peasants? I mean, like peasant workers? Like, what were you aiming to do when you were in the base?
Yeah, right now, like we're in his base. We're absolutely trying to find villager kills, because the dynamic between the French, which is what I'm playing, and the Delhi Sultanate, which is what my opponent's playing, is his goal is to hit late game. He absolutely strives in the late game. And while French is fine in the late game, he is just so much better due to the fact that he's getting all of his upgrades for free, and the cost of that is that it takes a long time. So his lumber upgrade takes like 3 minutes, and mine takes like a minute. So it's 3 times faster.
Right, but it's free.
It's all free. Yeah, so that's kind of the trick, is you have to survive long enough for the upgrades to really kick in, right? So I'm absolutely frantic right now with my cavalry trying to stop this man from powering up. You know, if you think it's like late game Zerg or like Sky Toss or something, we got to stop them from getting there. But this guy is just defending me at every single spot. And something I want to note is he's got a sacred site in here, which he's walled off very smartly.
Clever.
And there's kind of 2 ways sacred sites are used. You can use them as a win condition. You get this sacred site, and if he gets this one on my side of the map, he will win in like a 10-minute countdown. It might be 10, 15. Can't remember.
Right.
But you also get 100 gold per minute as a default with this sacred site. So even though he's only got 1, he's actually getting some gold from this, and also being Delhi Sultanate, that's doubled at 200 gold. So he is getting all of his gold. Note, he isn't mining any gold, but he does have some in the bank, and it says right here, plus 200 min. So that's 200 gold a minute, and he is just taking advantage of that, just taking full advantage of his civilization. You kind of see the different play styles coming out just because of which civs we picked.
Right. So your goal here is trying to deny him from getting to late game, while he is trying to hold on and also make his resources last out as long as possible while he tries to get to the late game.
Absolutely. So you can see stuff like I'm hunting with the deer with my map control. You know, I have a lot of control with the cavalry, so I can go out and hunt deer around the map and take different things. Whereas he's very tight in this ball. You know, he hasn't taken these deer yet because he's just trying to survive in this corner, you know, and he's walled off his important sacred site. and it's just completely different play styles, and you can see the clash. And sometimes it's like oil and water, and sometimes it just meshes together, and they both get to do what they want in their own way. It's really an interesting dynamic.
So, when it comes to the late game, if you get put into the point where you have to play at the late game, how do you counter that? Like, how do you, because is there a sacrifice for you to be committed so much to try to prevent it into the late game? Is it kind of like GG right there and then, or do you still have an opportunity to come back if you've, put too much into trying to deny him and he is successful?
Yeah, there's kind of a trade-off, right? So even though I'm open, I'm taking the deer, I'm taking advantage of all these different resources on the map, and I have a lot of map control, I am putting a lot of money into attacking them. And there's a point where it definitely gets diminishing returns, and it just depends how much of the map you can secure. If maybe I can get a castle into a forward position, maybe I can control this hill, I can just totally split off the map, and then we can get good stuff. Because his big unit that he's going to be wanted to look for is here it is. It's the War Elephant. He's the only civilization that get a War Elephant, and he's got these little two guys on here. They got like little pikes and stuff. And there's, I believe, 3 different types of elephants. They all do different things. Like some have like arrows and they can shoot you and stuff like that. But they're very, very strong. 1,400 health on this guy. For reference, my knight has 190. So,
this could be trouble. This could be some trouble.
Oh yeah, this is big trouble. I am in huge trouble right now. Seeing this elephant, I am terrified. This is what I've been trying to stop, and I got to do something fast. I got a lot of knights, but I'm trying to go into archers here to try to deal with these pikemen, because it's kind of that rock paper scissors of archers beat pikemen, pikemen beat knights, and then knights beat like horsemen and stuff like that, miscellaneous units.
So when it comes to this, when it comes to the rock paper scissors, do you aim to get all the buildings you need to be able to switch on the fly, or do you invest heavily in one and then only get them when you see that your opponent has changed?
Yeah, you kind of have to. It kind of depends on the situation. Like this guy, he got the pikes, he knew what to do to deal with the knights, and then he went into horsemen after that. Horsemen are kind of nice versus archers as well, so he kind of was predicting what I wanted to do here, and I went into archers a little bit later. Sometimes you just go ahead and just snatch the counter of whatever you're building right away,
right,
if you have good initiative. But sometimes you have to wait. I waited a little while just because I wanted to really invest into the knights, and it didn't pay off this time. But it kind of just depends on the situation. As far as building a lot of like different types, like 3 barracks, 3 ranges, and 3 stables, it's really like a late game situation where you do something like that. Maybe like if you had a lot of money and you can switch between that, because you still have to get all the upgrades. All these different things cost different upgrades. You can see like individually there's a veteran upgrade to just the knights and stuff like that, but as well as the blacksmith. So you have like melee +1,
like your +1/+1. Yeah, got it. So I was gonna say then, is it better? I guess, and you're gonna probably say there's a level of which it depends, but more or less, is it more likely to have a variety of units or a core couple units that are heavily upgraded?
I think generally it's good to have a variety of units, kind of keep it harder to counter. If you have something where it's just like, I have only knights, like in this game, this guy just absolutely destroyed me with a bunch of pikes, and you're seeing it now. He's just cleaning me up. I'm running away from him, trying to take advantage of my mobility, but he's just got too much here. And there's definitely some aspect of like, well, if you could take advantage of the knights enough, it doesn't really matter. But you just kind of have to work that out game to game, and that's where the strategy comes in, where you say, maybe versus the Delhi, I can pull out a bunch of knights and really just stay on there longer. But if I'm versus the Rus, like I got to switch up really quickly, or they're gonna just clobber me. And that's kind of where I think the fun begins, to honestly, with this game.
Okay, that makes sense. So that, and like you mentioned, that's where the strategy begins, where you decide how to really mix up your army, how to mix up your upgrades. Okay,
absolutely.
And so now you've gone on to this situation here. This doesn't look good for you. Like,
It's not looking good for
it
me.
doesn't
I'm
look
getting
good for you.
clobbered. I'm getting ran around the map. He's finally this is an important thing to know. This is finally his second base. I've had this base since 8 minutes, and he's got this base maybe a couple minutes ago. But just because he's just this deli play style, he's gotten these elephants out. He went to Castle Age pretty early on the back of this sacred site. Just totally different style, and you can see how it can absolutely dominate if you're not experienced enough in dealing with it. And oh man, we're going for a last hurrah. We're gonna put down a castle, and this is my last ditch effort. I don't know if it's gonna work.
I hope you would know. Oh, you're actually legit putting up this castle. So you're putting this castle up, and does the fog work? Can you not see this? Is like, why is he not coming to charge this?
I think he can barely see it. I don't know if this is a bug on the replay. Oh. It looks like he's coming over here, so he must have seen it. And he's charging his horsemen in to stop my attempt at holding the map. Because if I can cut him off, maybe I can scrounge a win. But it looks like not today. He's keeping me back.
So you rushed in there to drop this castle there without protection. Like, what was the idea to go there without like bringing units there to try to protect the workers?
That is a great question. I wish I knew the answer to it. I maybe should have made better decisions this game. I think I was hoping he just wouldn't see it. I was trying to deny this deer spot, but I don't actually know why I didn't pull up my units here. That is a great question. I wish I had an answer. As you can see, my composure in this game is absolutely falling apart as these elephants ravage my keep. There's not much to say about this situation.
I'm like, did you share us a game that you lost?
Hey, maybe you gotta keep yourself humble in these dark times. Yeah, this is absolutely not a game I win, but I think this is a good example of something where you can see the two styles, how they clash, and I think it's a good example.
Oh, perfect. Okay, got it.
Just the games, the mechanics and stuff. This was a game I lost, but I did like this game a lot. Here we have a game of me as the English versus the French. So we're doing a little bit of a mix-up here. And again, getting those sheep. We have one right away, but we got the two on the sides. We got to figure out where our sheep are. This map's a little bit different than usual. Every map is pretty unique. You kind of have this base layout where there'll always be mountains in these areas and like a water in this area kind of thing. But this map is a lot more closed off, and so we picked English. English is really nice and closed off maps just because we have the archers and we have the pikemen, and we really don't want to deal with these pesky horsemen or knights and stuff like that. So we like closed off maps, so I thought English would be perfect for that. You can see, if you remember, the deer last game was actually quite far, but here we got really close. Like I could shoot this deer with my town center. It's so
from
close.
Your town center. At what point do you transition from hunting to like farming and like berries and gathering? Like at what point do you find that is the optimal turnaround time? Is that after your food is expired, or you halfway? I mean, like after the sheep is all done? Like what's the turning point for that?
Well, deer is actually a better food resource than sheep. Not even just like you have 250 food in total in a sheep and 350 from a deer, but even just the collection rate is much higher. So I think like the hierarchy for land maps, it's like boar, then deer, then sheep, and then like farms, and then berries, right?
Right.
And you'll have different perks from different civs where they'll get more from farms or more from berries, but generally deer is just a great thing to go for. And kind of when you want to go for them is this might be a disappointing answer, when you can. Right? Like so like with cavalry civs, kind of highlighted, hey, we're getting these deer, and we're really taking advantage of this map control. So it's absolutely when you can, when you get that map control, when you get any sort of control, you want to go for that. And again, just to highlight the opener, we went 7 on food in this game, we went 3 on gold, and then we went immediately to the council hall, which is our landmark, and then only after that did we go for our wood. So we're really focusing on food and gold in the opener, just trying to get the landmark as close as possible to finish.
Now,
and,
in 2 games you've done that.
Food.
you've done that in 2 games. Is that standard to go like straight to your first landmark, like to tighten up that beginning game to go straight to your first landmark?
Absolutely. I mean, the only other situation is maybe if you wanted to get stone, we have some stone over here, and then maybe you delay your landmark just a little bit so that you get enough for a town center just as the feudal finishes. So we're still getting our landmark at a pretty good time, and we're not so worried. Maybe we don't put 3, but we have 3 on the landmark here. Maybe if I was going for a fast expansion build, we would just put 2. No big deal, no rush. Focus on the wood, focus on the stone, and then we'll line it up so that we can get that second base right away. But if we're not going for a fast base, we really just want this landmark straight away. We want to get those good units. I mean, especially from the council hall. Again, the only other civ that can make units from their landmark is the French, and we are playing the English right now. So we want to get these units out right away.
Right. And so is that you're going to be putting a pressure against the French like we did against the Delhi, or is this going to be played a little bit more passive?
Yeah, we're gonna be going aggressive. We're putting our motors on. We're looking at what he's doing. Now, pay really close attention to what the scout sees. We see stone being mined. This is a huge sign that he's going for an expansion. The scouts even stop and talking to the sheep about it. We're making sure we know what we're looking at right now. We're conversing a little bit. We're absolutely double checking. We see there's a lumber camp also pretty early. Now, you kind of have to know what you're looking at. If you've ever seen a quick town center build, this is what we're looking at 100%. I've experienced this many of times. So we're actually going to hunt right away because we know he's not going to be too aggressive. He's going for a quick town center. We got our longbows out.
Is the quick town center, is that for him? Is he looking to have like a strong economy going into the mid game? Or is what is for him? Is he looking to pump out units? What is the big econ advantage for the quick town center?
Yeah, he's absolutely trying to get that double-bill production on both those town centers, just looking to absolutely pump up his economy. And I don't want anything to do with that. I killed a scout. Luckily, he saw me hunting just as my longbows came out. But he's going for a big boom in economy, while I hate that idea. Let's not see any of that, But he, due to his strategy, he's being very defensive right now. So he's building a wall actually to stop me, and not just here, also here in the back. And he kind of leaves this open, but it's kind of tricky, right? We got these giant mountains we got to traverse through. Oh my God, I don't even want to go that far.
So you got this natural barrier trying to keep you out, essentially.
Yeah, he's using this terrain to his advantage. You can kind of see there's these mountains. We can't really go through these pebbles and stuff and these trees. He just absolutely played it like a fiddle. And now he's got his second town center at 6 minutes. I think he got a little earlier than that. But he's just taking advantage of it fully. He's even getting the deer with that town center. He just really wants to get up in arms and just get moving. You can see he knows that I'm attacking him. He's kind of seen me moving around. I'm kind of trying to figure out, is there a means of getting in without trying to bust through the wall? But I know this is the only way we start moving through the wall.
For a newbie, playing this, what is the advantage of trying to get a second town center versus just building the buildings closer to the resources to collect them faster?
Just getting that double bill production is absolutely killer
for the workers.
Yeah, for the workers, for that villager workers. Because there's kind of this dynamic, you can go castle age on one base and you can take advantage of your cool castle units and abilities, or you can go ahead and get that double villager production and just really pump up that economy, and then you can go ahead and do that. Of course, there's pros and cons to both, but this guy just really wants a bunch of villagers. You can already see so much more income than me. He's like
the village. So the villager count really translates to your econ, like your econ health, right? Just thinking about even
absolutely
StarCraft Zerg and drone count. That's the translation. Got it. I got it.
Absolutely. And we're on one base right now. We're just pumping out pikemen because he's French, so I'm worried about some knights on his side, and we're also getting some longbowmen, which are the natural unit that just comes out of this council hall. This giant building is like think of it as like 2 archery ranges. It pumps out units twice as fast, and it can only build longbowmen. So we're just rallying across the map, trying to break through this wall. Walling is a great idea. If you're trying to be defensive, it's just a natural lender to defense. And you can see it's very, very slow. These longbowmen do maybe like 1 damage to walls like this, but these spearmen actually have this kind of Molotov attack. They kind of like this torch that they throw them out there, and they're doing increased damage to buildings. So horsemen do this, knights do this, anything melee will do this kind of at building attack, and it really helps us get through.
And so,
yep.
Why in this situation though? Why didn't he come and defend it? Like, is he just did he not get an alert to know that you're under attack, or like?
Yeah, he knows he's getting under attack, but we have this kind of advantage of the longbowmen. They're very good. They have like +2 on other rangers, I believe.
So he's just not going to engage. He's not going to take this engagement.
Yeah, they have +2 range and +1 attack. So every time these archers come in, you see he's got archers to defend. Every time he comes in, I'm going to get 1 more hit on him before he gets to even attack me. So
you got the range.
He just does not want to deal with that. English are absolutely superior on the archers. And he even walled off to this town center. This is kind of a AoE2 move, actually. You can tell this guy's an AoE2 player. Kind of walled us off so I can't shift back here, and pocket into these berries. But lucky for me, I already thought about that. We got the boys in the back. We did a little recon. Remember that recon we talked about?
Yeah, the recon.
We came in. We did a little bit of finagling, a little bit of business. But we got to think of something fast, because you can see here this town center is attacking me from even here. It's long range attack. You can get Vils in there, and they'll add another arrow to every attack. So you got to be kind of careful. There's a lot of defensive capabilities that he's got here. That's nothing to scoff at. So we got to think of something really, really quick here. He's kind of cleaning up our recon force, and we're in trouble.
So when it comes to the amount you're gaining from this attack, now, is he being like? Are you actually doing major damage here, keeping him from gathering resources, or is this him being safe? Is this really not that big of a deal for him in the long run?
Right now, he's not in too much of trouble. I mean, we're denying this gold, which is great. So he's not going to be able to get out some knights. He's only getting out horsemen, which only costs food and gold. Then this back gold out here is a little far, and we kind of checked on that with our units. We know he's not going for that, so we're confirming the kind of composition he's going into. And as of right now, we're not doing a lot, but I tell you what, we got something up our sleeves. We got a ram, a battering ram.
I was gonna ask, where is the siege?
Yeah, siege is absolutely important. If anyone's ever played AoE2, you can't go without it. And in AoE4, it comes a lot quicker. So we actually come back to our base. We got ourselves a blacksmith, which gets ourselves an upgrade called Siege Engineering, which makes our infantry able to make siege anywhere on the map. So in this case, we can make the battering ram for 300 wood, and we just need these guys to kind of all focus on it. They're all helping with their pikes and whatnot, trying to get this ram up. And if you've ever played aggressive strategies in AoE4 or versus it, you know a lot about this ram. It's very, very strong. I think I'm actually going to go for a second one. Oh, here we go. And 2 rams are just really, really difficult to deal with for a couple reasons. For one, they're kind of like a building, so archers don't do a lot of damage. They just do 1 per. And 2, town centers cannot help themselves. They love attacking battering rams, and because they're shooting arrows, they don't do any damage. So they're kind of a magnet for these archers and pikes to get in close while these rams take the shots. So you can kind of see here, they're shooting this ram. Even as he gets more Vils in there, they're still shooting the ram. But these bowmen, these pikes, absolutely safe, and it just leaves these archers to fend for themselves. And you got, I mean, how many is this? Like 16 archers versus my 18. Not to mention the +1 of damage I have on these guys. and these pikes to help support. He's got some horsemen, but it's just the battle. You got a micro, you got some pullback micro here. We got the pikes on the horsemen, and you just got to be careful. Now, something important to note here: these villagers have a fire attack similar to what we saw with the pikemen, doing that torch damage, and it's a building according to the game. So they're doing huge damage. Yeah. So we got to pull these guys back. We're not worried about the archers doing damage, but we're worried about these villagers. Oh my God, we're not moving back. We're not very good at this game yet. We're not moving that. Whoa, let's look at this battle. Whoa, look at this battle I won over here.
I was gonna say, because the idea of even your ram being left on its own kind of thing, where you just try to get that extra damage into the town hall, or did you just
go for another one? We're going for a third one.
You'd build another one. All right,
this is the first time. Well, let's restart. So this is my first ram coming in. But yeah, so you have to do some pullback micro on the ram. We might have forgot about that. A little bit of mistake, but we're going for round 3. We're doing fine. So something important to note is this is the main town center, and this is the expansion one. This is the one he made, and this is quite a bit weaker. I think it's like 2,000 health versus the original one, which is like 7,000. So we absolutely want to hit this base, and that's part of why expanding is so tricky. Is how weak these town centers are. So we're just putting tons of pressure into this, and it's basically an all-in, right? If we're talking about cheeses, this might not be a cheese, but this might be pretty close to, the cheesiest thing you can get in this game. This and kind of tower onto resources and stuff like that. I'd say this is as aggressive as it gets.
That's amazing. So because the win condition is destroying everyone's landmarks, so is it possible to get the siege and I don't want to say cheese him, but just go straight for the landmarks directly and end the game like that? Is that a thing?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, something in AoE2, it was always a problem where people would just lift up their villagers and they just go to somewhere else and they're like, I'm just going to remake and we're fine. But because of the landmark system, you can just totally kill them as long as you kill those landmarks.
Okay.
Definitely comes up. But something to keep in mind is he's got this landmark, which is the School of Cavalry. We kind of looked at that in the last game. But also, his main town centers also considered landmarks. He's got 2 right now.
Yeah.
And they are very high hit points. This one up here, just 2,400 health on this town center. But the School of Cavalry has 5,000. Main town center has like 7,000. So
it's a lot of HP.
This base up here is definitely a lot easier. Yeah, for sure. So you kind of have to weigh your odds, and not only am I going for this town center up here, but I'm actually choosing to go for these archery ranges next, because it's just 1,500 damage, and we're kind of just going for what we can get, because we just want to get that longbowman advantage over these archers, and killing these ranges is the best way to get to that point. And you just have to weigh the odds. I mean, if we had a couple more rams, we definitely could think about the School of Cavalry, especially if he was making knights. I mean, I think he's queuing up a knight now, but it's just absolutely too late. We just come in here and we're just doing big damage.
You're just denying him his production. Looks like to me that you're really kind of you cut off the econ, and now you're kind of cutting off the production, as opposed to maybe trying to target the landmarks specifically.
Absolutely. And you can see even I'm moving forward here, and I'm killing all these villagers on the farms, and they're just stacking the battering ram just because the AI is just absolutely focused on these rams, and that's just the game. So you can kind of see the different shades of AoE4 with that game, and I hope that kind of gives a good example of it.
Last closing tips that someone should remember when getting into this game.
I definitely think you gotta actually, that's a great question. Wow. I think looking at your civilization's bonuses and what they're good and bad at is a great way to start kind of getting the idea of what your game plan should be, and kind of revolve around that. Like we saw the Delhi, great late game. You just got to hold out no matter what to the late game, even if it seems like you're totally behind. You can really take advantage of your elephants and different perks like that. But each game is just so different. You just kind of have to freestyle it, take them as they come. I mean, in StarCraft 2, coming from that game, you know exactly what you can make off of 66 workers, and you have this perfect spreadsheet out. But every game's a little different. Sometimes you have really good deer, sometimes you got to take berries early on, stuff like that, and sometimes you have a forward gold and you got to defend that quick, and it's just kind of take it as you come. And I think that's really the charm of this kind of game, is that kind of freestyle aspect of being on your toes. You don't know what you're going to get, and it's just a ton of fun.
All right, perfect. All right, so that's it from us. Hopefully you guys learned a ton from PandaBearMe and watching his games. Be sure to follow him on Twitch on his stream, and we'll catch you guys next time. Good luck and have fun out there. ESChamp Builds is made possible by passionate viewers just like you. To help us level up the scene, go to eschamp.com/join to become a member and get access to the community, previews, and exclusive shows.